They're facing kids that are.
And we are up and running. Good evening, and I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Millwood City Council for Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 at 6 p.m. If we would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Mack, can we lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. Ms. Jansen, if we could do a roll call this evening?
Mayor Freeman.
Present.
Councilmember Beasy. Councilmember Kohler.
Here.
Councilmember Van Hees.
Here.
Councilmember Sander. Councilmember Stravens.
Present.
Thank you.
So let the record reflect that we have 4 council members present. 1 council member is present by, present remotely by telecommunication. And so at this time, I am looking for if anybody has any changes or additions to tonight's agenda as it was advertised. Seeing or hearing no changes, do I have a motion on the approval of tonight's, on the agenda for tonight's meeting?
I make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, tonight's agenda is approved unanimously as presented. Thank you. Tonight we will have, item number 4 is our agency reports and presentations. We will have a report this evening from Chief Frank Soto of the Spokane Valley Fire District. This is our quarterly report. Chief Soto, please.
Good afternoon, council members and mayor. So I will be bringing you the second quarter numbers. So that will include April, May, and June. Do you guys all have a copy for the? Oh, there it is. Oh, sweet.
Or you could do the slideshow.
Excellent. So for these numbers here directly are for June. In June, we had 1,913 calls. During that time, you can see the bulk of the calls were 82% roughly were for emergency medical services or EMS calls. Those calls created 2,592 responses. And year to date, for instance, we're just over 11,000 calls and just over 14,000 responses. For the month of June, you can see that Valley Engine 2 was the 6th busiest unit in our fleet with just over 200 calls at 208. Next slide, please. So in regards to the Millwood area, during our year to date, we have 147 calls. You will see that 67 calls are what we had during the second quarter. On the bottom right-hand category spreadsheet, call category, 79% of our total calls were for EMS. 50% of those were for advanced life support, and 29% of those were for basic life support. Those were followed by fire calls, motor vehicle accidents, hazard materials calls, and building alarms round out our top 5. Next slide, please. For our responses by aid, so this is auto aid specifically. Again, auto aid is the closest appropriate unit. So even though if engine 2 is out of service and the city's engine was closest, they would be dispatched to the call. So the main places that we covered were Fire District 9, Fire District 8, and the City of Spokane, and we also received that same auto aid responses for them. We handled, up to date, we've handled 93% of our total call volume. Next slide, please. So this slide actually breaks down for the month of June specifically what each station got or received for a call volume. Our busiest single station is Station 7 with just Engine 7, so they had just over 300 calls. And those were followed by generally our busy units, which is Station 7, 8, 1, 10, 2, and 6. So we were quite busy this month. Next slide, please. And this is a comparison of last year, 2022, with this year, 2023, in regards to the June numbers and total call volume. And you can see that in some categories we're slightly ahead of last year, and other categories we're slightly behind. So either way, we're appropriately busy at this time, same as last year. Next slide. This one specifically breaks down exactly what each call category that we fell under or have fallen under. So you can see that this June was our third busiest June in history. So again, things aren't really slowing down, maybe flattening out a little bit, but just busy as usual. Next slide, please. And on this slide, you can see right now, this is a comparison of year to year. So from 2019 to 2020, a call volume went down by 1.8%, and then 21 went up by 18.64%. So you can see that year to date, as of right now, we are just 1.57% less calls than last year. So like I said, we're closing in on it. That gap was a little bit wider, but we are closing in on it. Next slide. So this is the last slide, and I'm sure you guys are all in tune exactly what this call was. The Inland Empire Paper Company on May 23rd. I'm sorry, on May 3rd, 2023. Roughly 1 o'clock, we got called out for a hazmat investigation. Our unit got there pretty quickly and discovered that it was a first alarm, called for a first alarm commercial fire. There was a sodium-based bleach that had a reaction with water, and so it was burning. And so quickly after realizing that this was a hazmat and a fire event, we upgraded to a second alarm. Had help from Fire District 9, Fire District 8, the Department of Ecology, the City of Spokane, AMR was there as well. And so it took 2 days to finally terminate and bring the call to completion. But I was happy to report that, everything was saved. Everyone was, even though it was a pretty significant bleach and corrosive on our equipment, everybody was made it through with no injuries. So I was happy with that. It could have been a lot worse. So at this point, that is my report, and I'm here for any questions.
Questions for Chief Seta? I have a quick question. On the ALS and BLS calls, how many of those, do you keep a log of how many of those actually end up being transports for further medical care?
I do keep a log. We keep a log as to how many we transport specific to just the city of Millwood. I'd have to get that number for you, but yes, sir, we do.
I just off the top of your head, is it most all of them? Is it some of them? Is it greater than 50%, less than 50%?
Greater than 50%.
Greater than
I'd say
50%.
Probably about 70%.
Result in a transport to,
Transport, yes, sir.
okay, excellent.
Whether ALS or BLS. yes,
ALS or BLS. Excellent. I have no other questions. Thank you very much for coming, Chief. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other presentations at this time? With no other presentations, we will move to our public comment period. This is the opportunity for citizens to submit comments on the action items, those items considered for final action for tonight's meeting. Comments may be submitted by U.S. mail, by electronic mail, or directly to City Hall 24 hours prior to tonight's meeting. Have we received any public comments this evening?
No, we have not.
So no public comments tonight on any action items. Thank you very much. We do have an executive session tonight Our city attorney wonders if we would like to consider moving that to the end of the meeting, as this will be only an informative executive session, no action will be taken, or we can adjourn here for a set period of time. There's the will of the
We
council.
can go up after.
After? So you would suggest moving it to following council remarks?
Yeah, that's okay with council.
So at this time, we will move the executive session to between, just following the council remarks prior to any announcements. Actually, let's move it between announcements and setting the next meeting so we can make announcements. So we'll move that between items 13 and 14. So that brings us tonight to our action items for this evening. Our first action item is our consent agenda, consisting of the draft council meeting minutes for the June 2023 regular meeting, the draft council meeting minutes for the special meeting held July 5th, 2023, the 2023,
Skip that one.
yes, I was going to say that, thank you. The June 2023 claims and pay, the June 2023 claims and the June 2023 payroll and the June 2023 treasurer's report. Would any member of the council like to take any of those items separately on the consent agenda for separate consideration? Seeing or hearing none, do I have a motion on tonight's consent agenda as presented?
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Actually, wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. The agenda says the draft, the budget amendment, so we have to amend the consent agenda to take that off, correct?
Technically, formally, I think as presented as, we
Yeah.
can amend it to remove that, yeah.
So, do I have a motion to amend the consent agenda to remove the 2023 budget amendment from tonight's consent agenda?
I move that we amend the consent agenda to remove the 2023 budget amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, the consent agenda is amended to remove the 2023 budget amendment. And so now we will take a motion on the approval of the consent agenda as amended.
I move approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, tonight's consent agenda as amended is approved. Thank you very much. Okay. So that brings us to item 8B, ordinance 537, amendments to the 2023 budget. Ms. Mackin.
Yes, do you have that? Yeah, and I'll just read them off. I didn't make a PowerPoint because it's really not a whole lot going on, but. So in the general fund, we are amending the beginning balance to reflect the actuals. We're increasing the revenue, projected revenue for brokered natural gas by 13,000, just following our revenue trend. Same for other interests. This is interest that's held on accounts by other agencies for us. It's coming in probably higher because interest rates are higher. So that is it for the revenues. And then in expenditures,
What page are you on?
I am on page 2.
Thank you.
Of the budget, of the proposed budget changes.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, increase the council pass-through. This is mainly because of all the communication charges being redistributed you guys have to pay for your own communication stuff now out of your budget. So, and then the increased rates, and there's also some professional services stuff in there and so forth, but really $2,500, not a lot of money. The recording services or clerk wages, we're doing a $2,000 increase to pay for a temporary admin. Kevin was probably be better at explaining what they're doing as far as the,
So this is we brought somebody in to actually do the scanning for the large plat files and work through any of the stuff that was as part of the quality assurance portion of the digitization project. We need to go through and verify all of the files are complete so that we can then move to destruction and basically attest to the auditor or the office of, who would it be? Public Secretary of State that we completed quality assurance and that the records were completely digitized, or to the best of our abilities were completely digitized, and we made sure that, and then we still have some large plat scannings and some large format scannings, some other options, and just rather than task Denise to try and jump up, run some stuff through, run back to the counter, run some stuff through, run back to the counter, it was just easier to continue the person on and get that stuff done so it's done. So that is that project. Then we can start burning boxes.
yes. In central services, professional service, it says under remarks, the park short plat, I put it under central because it's not just park, it's dividing up all the different lots, so it just made sense. Let's see, then a pretty good increase under special purpose paths, repair and maintenance. That's for Kubota repairs, which,
That's the next page.
Next page.
yeah, next page,
Under
sorry.
transportation.
Yeah, right there. So that is an increase of $9,500.
Oh, we've had the Kubota for a few years now, right?
Yeah,
Well, it's a spendy little piece of equipment too.
and then they work it to death. So
Yeah.
it, things break. Under parking facilities, the lease went up with UP as well as the insurance by quite a bit. So that's what that is. More wages in swimming pool because we actually got people and they were gonna be able to do a full season, so hope. The rest pretty much is remaining owed on contract for the rebranding. There's office furniture in there, that's for my offices, my peeps. And then, that's it for general, except for the capital expenditures, which we eliminated a bunch of things, push projects to next year. Under server relocation, it says $81,000. I got a little excited with my zeros.
I was
That
gonna
should say $8,100.
I was gonna say, that has become a very expensive server relocation.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other two things are remaining on contract and server relocations. So that brings the total fund expenditures, the proposed difference down from $250,000 to $176,000, or an increase of $30,000. $18,000 of that was closing out contracts from last year. They were budgeted last year, but somehow we didn't get the bills in time to process it out last year. So then we have nothing, we just skipped right through to water utility, which is page 8.
I'm way behind.
Oh my God.
Did you
Well,
notice?
that's because there's nothing on those pages. I don't even know why it printed.
I can't help itself.
So what we have is increasing the actual beginning balance by 88,000. Again, the server relocation, because everybody has to pay for that, that's 2,700. And then a whole lot of projects that got pushed to next year. And retainage release for the Frederick water main. And again, the server, and again, more
Next page.
on page 9, again, more stuff that gets moved to next year. So that's all I have. It's way less than normal, which makes me scared that we're gonna have to do another one. That's it.
Questions for Debbie on anything that was presented in there? So do we need to amend, this to reflect the fact that it is not 81,000, it is 8,100?
Yes,
In the ordinance?
I think it's probably in the ordinance too, because that's what I took my numbers off of. bottom line.
So I don't even know how we would amend this.
Well, the ordinance is it's fund-based, so are you changing the 81 to 81,000 to 8,100 in the
That's in the general fund, yeah.
general fund?
So we need to just reduce it by 76, what did I say? Got it right.
Math is hard.
$72,900.
Which number?
Expenditures under general fund.
Yep.
So that's, you doing it? Good man.
Oh, everybody's got their
Fine.
calculators. So,
Council does have before them the ordinance tonight that has just has the necessary finding to meet the statutory requirement.
so. 270. So, it would be $5,823,370. Is that what you got?
That's what I got, but
Okay.
so that would mean
5,823,370.
370.
Thank you.
so estimated ending balance would go up by that amount.
Correct. Up by 72,900.
So estimated ending balance in the general fund is $1,582,056.
I believe so.
That's what I got without a calculator. I knew it.
Did you
Lot
say
of math in law school.
1582056?
What?
Is that what we said?
Yep.
Yes.
1,582,056.
Which is gonna change your total.
Our total,
Overall expenditures to. Overall expenditures to 6,849,254. Then I have a total ending balance of $3,086.
$3,086,000?
86, yes,
$91.
$91, yes, that's what I have.
Okay.
Hey, Brian, how do you wanna do that?
We'll just say as amended. And then we can let the
Treasurer,
treasurer's records the treasurer's notes will reflect what will be amended in the ordinance. So, do I have a motion on ordinance 537 as amended?
I move that we adopt ordinance 537 as amended to reflect the change from the server relocation costs.
That's the reason for the amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, ordinance 537 is passed. Let the record reflect that the majority of voting members represents a quorum plus one. We had 4 ayes for this ordinance. And the treasurer's notes will constitute the numbers to be presented in the amended ordinance. Thank you very much. So that brings us to our reports. That concludes our action items and brings us to our reports for this evening. No action is taken on these reports. First up is our treasurer report, Ms. Mackin.
Yes. So in finance, I've been obviously working on the amendment. Sorry about all the issues tonight. That's what I get for going on vacation right before council. I don't really have anything in HR except to announce that we are now under Washington Cares long-term. And so we'll begin taking those deductions this month. Yeah, I know, and it's not gonna be fun. And then under risk management, we're having an issue that's, I noticed last year, but it's becoming increasingly worse with parents dropping children off for the waiting pool and then leaving the premises. And so I'm not sure what you want to do about that. Because clearly we have an attendant out there, it's not a daycare, they can't watch. I mean, this is toddlers they're doing this with. We can't, you know what I mean? I don't know what your policy, what policy you want to take on this. What would you like to do? Because from a risk management standpoint, we're not a daycare, we're not a licensed daycare. We can't have somebody who's supposed to be rendering first aid watching other people's children. So maybe take it under advisement.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to come up with something where, if your child's in there, I hate to say it, you might have to surrender your driver's license or something like that or something while your kid's in there. I mean, we're gonna have to find some way, because if they're just dropping off little kids, it's not like that kid's got a wallet. So, should we have a medical emergency and the parent isn't there, how do we even begin to know what to do?
Yeah.
So we will have to take that under advisement. We'll put our heads together, but just know that it may require some type of aggressive discipline out there. We don't really have I hate to say it, but we don't have like a standard swimming pool where we have a double containment system where we have entry into the pool, but then entry into the facility where you can control if somebody's come in and they're little. Yeah, stuff like that. So we don't have a double barrier or anything like that. It could get tricky.
And even if, say, that child doesn't get hurt, say they need to use the potty. They're leaving that area, now there's no supervision on a child. So it just kind of makes me nervous.
Unattended children will be unattended.
Yeah.
So the first thing we'll do is reach out to WCIA. I can tell you what WCIA's first take on that is going to be. Well, you need to close that waiting pool. I'm not sure how much of benefit they will be. We might be able to reach out to Spokane County Parks and Rec, but as discussed, they have kind of that double containment. You've got to fess up before you can even enter the facility. So not really sure how we will attack this. I appreciate you bringing that point up. I was not aware that it had become that bad.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we've had people leave their children for 4 hours.
yeah, no, that's not gonna, because they certainly will have no trouble suing the city should a child be hurt or, God forbid, killed.
Kidnapped.
Yeah. Yeah, or disappeared, which would be the worst. So yeah, we're gonna have to think.
Dan, you got something to say?
Mr. Sander.
Doesn't it already say? Doesn't it already say that? Yeah,
I don't.
I believe it already says it on the sign.
I think you have use at, I think there's a use at risk sign up on the fence. It's probably sufficient for enforcement purposes to tell them, you know, if we need to look at the sign and say an adult needs to be present or accompany the child, you can rely on that for enforcement, but the child can't read it and the adult who drops them off and doesn't see it, the signage is probably not of a great deal of effect for liability avoidance. Might be for mitigation, but not avoidance.
We'll have to do some thinking about this. Could you ask our pool attendants to really watch, not so much try and head it off, because I don't know if they can always head it off?
They last week actually told them, here's my toddlers, I'm gonna leave, I'll be back in 20 minutes, a half an hour. And he said, ooh, and they just left.
Yeah, he said, I can't do that,
And
and
they,
they still proceeded to take off. And they're gonna go do some shopping.
so we need to really know how long this, because blatant disregard for our rules is, I'll shut the damn thing down, and we'll just pull the plug on the wading pool, because if people can't follow the rules, we can't be at risk. We can't, and they will sue us for their own stupidity.
Yeah, they will.
So I don't know what we'll do about this. This will be something that we will obviously come back to the council, and it may be, sorry to inform you, but, because and no disrespect to the members present, I don't know what you folks can do about it without you authorizing a bunch of money to build some type of like, hire somebody to check people in out there sort of thing. And, oh, you're gonna come in, so you need to come in here with your toddler. You can stay here, your toddler can go in the pool. You can be in one of these areas around here while small child goes and swims. But if you leave, child leaves. So, don't know what we're gonna do about that. The signage, I'm sure, is clear, but it probably doesn't meet what we would need to have it meet now, which is multilingual signage posted at a distance. It can't be posted right there. We'd have to have it posted in the parking area, something like that, where it would be up to that code. And Dan, I'm sure you know just as well, a big red sign doesn't prohibit anybody from suing us for us allowing it to happen, even though we're not really allowing it to happen, but it happens.
Yeah, and my first gut reaction was, call the police. Just call the police.
And have the child arrested. That's
No.
awesome.
Have the parent.
Bunch of toddlers in handcuffs.
Bring your
Have the police track the parents down. I don't know.
Bring your little Tykes handcuffs.
The small zip ties.
Yeah.
I'll
All
talk to 'em both
all
in the
right.
morning. I'll talk to them both in the morning and let them know to keep a closer eye on how often it's happening.
Yeah, we need some kind of, we need to know if this is just some individuals having super blatant disregard, or if this is something where, like, on a daily occurrence, we got one or two people leaving their kid and driving away. Because if that's the case, then we're gonna have to basically shut it down. I mean, I could see us shutting it down for a few days and putting a big sign up that says, you can't leave, and then maybe trying again or something like that. But I don't know what we'll do. But
Figure out just exactly how often it's happening first.
yeah, it's just the way it's designed. It's designed for a different time and place. All right. Any questions for Debbie on the treasurer's report? Thank you, Ms. Matkin. So our public facilities report, Mr. Shiwi.
Well, on the topic of seasonal people, the people that we have this year are working out awesome. Every single one of them. Got nothing but good things to say about them. And they're doing a great job for us. We got some of the historic signs up along the trail that have been, copied and ready to go. So those are all mounted and out there. I believe this week, the final bid package for the trip hazard concrete cutting on all the sidewalks is going out to the companies that were qualified to bid on that. Part of the blame for the whole server relocation is they have started construction on our new office, so we're not gonna be working out of a garage anymore, so that's cool.
So they're working in a garage while they're not going to be working
Yes.
out of a garage.
We went from a garage where fire trucks used to park to a garage where cars park. So hopefully go back into a garage that won't be a garage anymore. And our newest full-time employee, it just got back from a couple weeks of paternity leave. They just had their first little one, so that's exciting for him. That's about all I got this month.
On the other side of things, or not on the other side, but as part of the facilities, one thing I have asked Kyle to do based on the special meeting is Kyle is going to be working with Welch Comer to come back with some hardscape ideas for traffic calming, including raised intersections and some potential for speed tables. The idea would be that we would look at these as budgeted as potential. We would look at some potential city funding sources for that, because it's not going to be anything that we're going to be able to get money out of SRTC or anything like that for speed control. They just don't typically do it. But with the intent that we could potentially look at trying to get some of these installed. There would be, one of the things we looked at is adding some more intersections. So basically anywhere there's a street coming into Empire, that now becomes an intersection, and we stabilize the intersection there. Some ways to do that with the intent of making it unpalatable for through traffic. I don't know what to say to the neighbors, because there's very little we can do for law enforcement for fancy type of chicanes or narrowed intersections or things like that. The quickest and probably most cost effective is speed impediments. So Kyle will be working on that mostly with Welch. Welch has looked at this in the past, but once we get some ideas back from Welch, we'll probably come back to council and talk about that. Anything for Kyle? Any questions for Kyle?
So is the pool open 7 days a week with everybody working? Okay. Yep. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Shuey. So utilities, Mr. Erdahl.
All the water samples came back good this last month. We we switched to new park well from old park well, because it pumps more water with all the heat. We got the parts are on their way for the flow meter and booster, so hopefully that's gonna be going in soon. Idaho Fence was working on putting a new fence at Butler, and that should be done this week. So that'll give us more room and storage up there, behind there. Chipotle is going in at the old Banner Bank, and they installed a new water service line and a grease trap. So I got that all ready to go. Nothing really in sewer. Everything's going.
Any questions for Matt? Thank you, Mr. Erdahl. So, Clerk, Planning, and Code Enforcement, Ms. Jansen.
In the clerk's office, it was mentioned that we do have some extra summertime help. So we've been primarily focused on public records and destruction of records that have met their retention date. Denise has really grasped that Secretary of State retention schedule really well and has been sort of driving that process. So that's good for just general cleanup in our office. From the planning department, I received a permit application from the city of Spokane Valley for IEP. They are proposing an 800 square foot, building that does something. It's on the back side next to the river, but it's proposed just on an area that's already developed. So I don't anticipate anything tricky with that one. I will be at the farmer's market next Wednesday, the 19th. That is the All Things Millwood Day. So our city will have our tent there with all of our fun giveaway items. And then next Friday night, the 21st, will be our next movie in the park, and that is a Minions movie. And other than that, I don't have anything unless you have any questions for me.
Do we have anything on code enforcement?
I'm sorry, I do have code enforcement, but Mr. Wurst will be addressing that.
Excellent. Any questions for Christina? Thank you, Ms. Jansen. So our legal report, Mr. Wurst.
So the qualifier on that is I'll be discussing a code enforcement matter in executive session. So we do have pending litigation. Other than that, I don't have anything for open sessions.
Any questions for Mr. Wurst? Thank you, Brian. And so mayor's report. I have to admit, this month I've been primarily going down to Prosser and Sunnyside whenever I can to attend to things down there. As alluded in other points of discussion, we are getting the offices done downstairs. That will give Kyle and Matt some good room. We'll also isolate the server in a secure location that can be locked. That also isolates all of our power, fuse boxes, everything like that, telecom in a locked room, same locked room, so we get some security control there. That necessitates having an extra mini split installed because we need cooling in there. The rest of that seems to be going well. It's getting cleaned up down there quite a bit. It'll be a better flow control. We won't have quite so many weird doors and things like that downstairs. Debbie will be preparing the 2024 budget here.
Call letters will go out probably by the end of the week.
So call letters for budget items for 2024. If you have anything you'd like to discuss with Debbie as a potential for an item to include or consider, please reach out to her. We have our, as Christina said, we have our movie in the park coming up again, and Kyle is working on some ideas for Empire that we can have. So that's the mayor's report for this month. Any questions for me from council? Thank you very much. So council information, that concludes our reports. Thank you. Council information for tonight is the Spokane County Sheriff's Office monthly report. I am still trying to figure out who will come. The idea will be is that I will probably get reached out to probably after August, so for the September meeting, because that's when they usually come and talk about the 2024 LECAP and all that. So we will, at that point, I'll be able to actually interface with somebody. It's kind of difficult over there to track people down, particularly during vacation season, things like that. So for now, that brings us to item number 11, our public remarks. Public remarks. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the council either in person or by submitting their remarks to remarks@millwoodwa.us. We ask that in-person speakers limit themselves to 2 minutes and follow the citizens' participation guidelines posted on the city website. We have one person signed up for public remarks this evening, Diane Willite. Diane, would you come up and state your name and address at the podium?
Diana Wilhite, you want my full address? 1010 South Sunnyvale, Spokane Valley, Washington. As you know, I'm not a citizen of Millwood, but I came to familiarize myself with the Millwood City Council and learn a little bit about the city of Millwood because I am running for the position of fire commissioner. And since it covers Millwood, I thought I better come and learn what you all are about. So that's why I'm here attending your meeting tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana. So any other resident, that completes our sign-ins for tonight. Any other resident like to provide public comment? Please step to the podium.
Mayor, members of the council, I'm Winston Wiggins, 9925 East Alt. I didn't intend to say anything tonight, but in light of what you said, Mayor, to Kyle about working with Welch Comer for some traffic calming ideas on Empire, I think that's well and good. I would like to suggest that a really smart thing for Kyle to do is to visit specifically with people who live along East Empire for some ideas, because there's some ideas floating out there that I don't think have probably been considered. So that's just my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments this evening? Please.
Hi, Shireen Young at 8903 East Liberty, and I'm happy to announce our Millwood Days is coming up, and I'll leave this with City Hall so that we've got a poster. We've got some smaller ones coming as well, but it's coming up on August 26th, and we worked out with Christina Movies. We're showing Super Mario Brothers. So thank you for the adjustment with that. So very excited for that. That will be the movies on Friday night. And then, of course, the event is on Saturday, the 26th. Many of the businesses are directly involved. The Mel Shop is doing the car show, and Bottles is doing the valve cover races again this year, very popular. We have Anytime Fitness sponsoring our 5K fun run. Just lots more going on. Millwood Community Presbyterian is going to open up their church and have various events. So a lot going on. Look forward to seeing everyone there. And then next Saturday, not this one, but the following, on the 22nd, the Pumpkin Patch Community Garden is going to be having a work day and then a potluck. And we're discussing just how things are working in the garden, and anyone and everyone's invited. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Shireen. So second call for public comment. Third and final call for public comment. Seeing nobody else come forward, public remarks. We will close the public remarks period and move to council remarks. Mr. Stravens.
No remarks this time.
Thank you, Mr. Sander. Well, to respond to Councilmember Sander, I would be happy, I can say this, as late as 2 weeks ago, there was still some discussion on if the county commissioners even wanted to still run that bond issue internally. Our county commissioner is Commissioner Kearns, and I see Commissioner Kearns. I can ask him once they have decided that they are actually going to place that on the ballot. I'm more than happy to ask Commissioner Kearns to come and present what the opinion and what the proposal is, and discuss the need and how that money would be used and spent. I know that from discussions that it does not all go to jail facilities. There's still some discussions on what those facilities might actually look like. So how much they really need, all that, where the excess funds would go, things like that. So there are a number of things in that to Councilman Sanders' to his statements do look concerning from the outside in. It needs to be presented in a way that it's not simply politicized in black and white, because we really need to understand what that funding is going to be used for. And so I'm not sure that there is truly, even right now, consensus at the county. It's different having 5 than it is having 3. That is correct, and it is different having 5 county commissioners than it is having 3 county commissioners. And so there is still some internal discussion as to what that ballot measure would look like right now. It would be any money at that level would be assigned on a pro rata basis, so it would be assigned by population. So yeah, we'd get some money. It would be proportional to our population. So, but I'm not sure. So I don't know. The other thing, Dan, I don't know how much money we'd get because I don't know what projects look like. And I don't know if it would be simply to offset law enforcement costs, because I can tell you right now, if they sent us the real bill for the LECAP, we are woefully short on what it really costs for even what we have now. Other entities support us, and if we would to be asked to pay our actual and full freight, right now we're not doing that under the model that they have now for cost reimbursement. So it will be interesting to see what happens. Some of these things you kind of got to wait as discussions go on for everybody to try and say what they want or what they want to do. So. Right, but when are the primaries? So some of it, Dan, you'll probably won't hear anything until after the primaries are done. That's the reality of it. There won't be anything coming out until everybody sees who's going to be in the general. So, Mr. Van Hees, comments? Thank you. Mr. Culler, any comments?
Nothing this month.
Great, thank you very much. So that concludes the council comments for this evening. Do we have any announcements, one last time for Millwood Days, Christina? Or our episode in the park?
Yeah, movie in the park next Friday night at dusk, and city booth at the farmer's market next Wednesday.
Great. So at this time, this concludes the public portion of our meeting. The council will now go into executive session for the purposes of Mr. Worst.
For the purposes under 4230, RCW 4230-110 subsection 1I, to discuss with legal counsel pending litigation as well as potential litigation threatened against the city. I think we estimate that it will take 10 minutes upon commencement of the executive session, but may be extended if necessary.
So in that executive session will be the 4 council members.
We will have to call Mr. Sander.
Or we probably should just ask everybody to, no?
I can't include Dan with shutting down the audio to the broadcast.
Got it. Okay, so we will leave chamber and retreat to the mayor's chamber back there. The members will be Mr. Stravens, Mr. Sander, Mr. Van Hees, Mr. Culler, myself, Mr. Worst, and the city clerk, Ms. Jansen. Those are the members included in the executive session. For the record, this is an information session only. No action will be taken during the session, and no action will be taken following the session based on the executive session. So it is
Dan, can you mute your Zoom?
7 p.m. exactly. We will adjourn to executive session and after 10 minutes of executive session. So thank you very much.
I gotta hit him now.
All right, so welcome back for those who are watching now or in the future. It is 7:12, and we are back from executive session. Executive session lasted 10 minutes. No action was taken in the executive session, and no action based on the executive session is forthcoming. So that brings us to item number 14, setting our next meeting. Our next regular meeting is Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 at 6 p.m. We hope everyone can be there. If for some reason vacation or something, please keep Christina in the loop to ensure that we either do or we know or don't know that we will have a quorum available.
I don't take vacations, but I'm very forgetful.
There, well.
I need a reminder.
There's
Next reminder.
there's new pills for that. Anyway, with no further business before this council this evening, I would ask for a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn. I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. This meeting is adjourned at 7:13 p.m. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye, Dan.